All right, everybody. I'm very excited to bring in our guest here today to talk about the latest episode of Survivor, making her recap show debut. And I got to be honest, I think it's going to be a good one. We've been chatting for a little bit, and I think that we're in for a treat today. Please welcome from Survivor Island of the Idols. It's Janet Carbin. Janet, how are you?
Hi, Rob. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I do have a little bit of energy sometimes.
Yeah. Good. Well, this is fun because, other than I ran into you at the red carpet in your season, little did we know the last Survivor finale ever.
Who would have thought? I
Who
mean, that's just
who
blows
knew?
my mind.
Yeah. That this is really the first time we're getting to chat a little bit. Can I give the backstory of how this came to be?
You and I are Survivor
Yes,
for
well,
me.
no, not Survivor. I'll say that for the Jeff Probst podcast.
Yes,
I
yes,
got a message from Janet recently, and you said,
yeah.
hey,
What's going on?
how come you never had me on the podcast?"
My feelings were totally hurt, Rob. I was
Yeah,
like, "What's the
yeah.
matter?"
I was like, "Let's go, let's do this, Janet.
Yeah.
Come on." Yeah.
And then he scheduled me, and then I had to recancel.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, I'm glad that we're doing it here. And, I'm excited that you were up for doing it. And from what I see on social media, you follow the show very closely. And so excited to get your take on everything Survivor. But before we talk about everything happening in Fiji, what's new with you, Janet?
Well, I tell you, life is good. Being a retired person and all that, I
Hmm.
am involved with Hearts of Reality. I mean, I'm sorry, Give Kids the World down here a
Right.
lot, which hosts Hearts of Reality. But for me, I'm getting ready for a 500-mile bike ride across the state of Iowa at the end
Wow.
of July with 10 other of my crazy friends.
Hmm. That's, I mean, how long does it take you to do 500 miles on a bike?
Well, it's set up for 7 days. The event is called RHAP. It's my first time doing it, but it's the 50th anniversary. And all my friends that have done it, they've all done it before.
Hmm.
And you have to sign up for it, you have to pay for it and all that before they announce the route. So we're all sitting together at a big party on the route announcement night, and they announce the route. And my friend says, "Oh my God, if I wasn't signed up for this, I would never do it this year." It's
Hmm.
like the sixth hardest one ever.
Is it always in Iowa?
Apparently, yes, this is an Iowa event. I do know that other states have rides, but this is the famous one.
Okay. All right. And well, good luck with that.
Oh, and Gabler's in Iowa.
Oh,
So
okay.
I
Are you gonna
reached out to him and I'm like,
Yes, is he
Gabler.
doing it?
Oh, but I said, come meet me on my route. I sent them the copy of the route, and
He might just be hiding along the way. You don't even see him.
behind
That's
the
his
giant
move.
potato.
Yeah. um and then I know you were telling me before you have a bunch of like Survivor friends that you hang out with locally.
Yes. So FBI Joe Del Campo.
Mhm. How's
Um,
Joe Del Campo doing?
He's doing really well. He is settled down here in Florida, about 40 minutes from me.
Hmm.
And his son opened a restaurant, and he's very involved in that. And he lives right
Yeah.
near Brenda
Yeah.
Quasenberry.
It's not a like all you can eat barbecue, right?
Oh, God, no.
No,
Oh,
please.
God, no, because we don't want any stomach issues.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Joe is a good friend of mine. He's been here to my house. Dr. Carl.
Yes. Yes.
Tina Weston. She
Oh,
came and
Tina's in
hang out.
Florida too?
Well, she's part-time. So
Yeah.
with the watch party March 1st, it was my first one that I hosted for Give Kids the World.
Yes, I saw. And yeah, and Mike came and Jonathan came,
Yeah,
right?
well, Jonathan wasn't able to make
Oh,
it,
okay.
but Ethan came.
Yes.
Mike came. We had a great time. Mama C was there.
Yeah.
Gio came.
Oh, nice.
And we made all these videos in the house. We did fire challenge. I was blindfolded, and
Wow.
people could
So
bid.
yeah, Jen, how wild do these like retired Survivor parties get?
They're just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is they're just a lot of fun. We have pizza making that goes on. My husband has a pizza oven. We have a fire pit out in the
Yeah.
backyard. Hey, the next one is tie-dyes and waffles.
Yes. Okay. That why tie-dye? Is Rupert coming?
We actually thought about that, but Dr. Carl, when he was making his tie dye, he actually asked if Rupert was coming. But no Rupert on this one. But we just we come up with these themes usually when I'm swimming long distances or I'm biking. I'm like,
Yeah.
what would be the
It comes
next
to you.
one?
Yeah. Okay. Well, honestly, Janet, I feel like that this is more my speed than, going to go these like 20 somethings that are on the show and
Yes.
what they're doing.
It's hard to tell what
I
they're
gotta be
doing.
I don't think I could keep up with you all.
We're a pretty active bunch.
I don't think so.
And that's something I want to get across. I want to get rid of this old
Later days.
stereotype
Right.
because sometimes, I have been put into that category.
Yeah.
Let's see who's really old. What does
Okay.
old mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would love to hear your thoughts on Survivor 44. And are you feeling like this is a good season? Are you into it?
I am into this season.
Yeah.
I think there's some, and it's funny. Since I've been on the show, the more and more I watch it, you can just see the roles that people are falling into. And you're always comparing to your own season.
Sure.
And you can see, oh, there's that person, there's that person, there's that person. And this is a good one. I think there's some really good gameplay going on. I think that I personally am trying to be open to the new 20 shorter format.
Yeah.
Because
it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. So you know what? I need to embrace it.
Yeah. And, I do feel like that in the Survivor podcast space, I do think that we do tend to, get a little bit like fixated on the things that we don't like. But I do think that we can take a step back. And this is a very good season of Survivor. It's not a, classic era season of Survivor, but for Survivor, like in 2023, this is we can't ask for like much more here.
The thing that this is a Mama Janet moment.
Okay.
This is, just because I've had a few days on this earth and a few go arounds in the barrel. If we don't accept all the differences in how things run and different people and all of that, you're bound to never grow. And I think accepting this 26-day format, people just don't like change. Do I think, I don't know, I'll sit there and say, oh shit, the merge, we were just starving at that. We all say that. All of us that did the old format say that. But you know what? I started putting myself into some of the positions of the people that are playing here. And I was thinking about Lauren. I was thinking about Franny. I was thinking about, how fast their game is going.
Yeah.
Is that a deterrent? Is it just a different way? If you want to look at it as a deterrent, you'll never be successful.
Yeah. Janet, so how big of a deal do you feel like the 26th day is versus, the season that you played on going like right up to the end of a 39-day season?
Well, I was 37.
37, yeah. So I really feel like that if they didn't say, at least on the TV show, like I feel like that, 98% of the people that watch the show wouldn't even notice that it's 26 days in terms of like what happens on television.
They wouldn't.
But it's a big deal for the players.
The other thing that I notice, I don't know if you do, and again, at first I was really like, oh man. And then I'm like, you know what? Is that really so bad? They have a lot of clothes.
Yeah.
They have a lot more clothes than we had.
Yeah. Yes. Well, not all changes are bad, right? Like, why do they have to be? Well, but here's what is, and I'm not going to complain. But Janet, here's like, and because so much of this was about the rice negotiation and the food. So how come on the one hand, it's like, hey, you know what? The players are too cold. It's not right. We got to give them clothes. It's inhumane to put them out there and they need warm clothes because it's cold. And everybody's like, okay, great. But give them less food.
I know.
Make sure they're starving because that's what we're like. Why?
I know.
Who cares?
There's a component to that. There's a component to that, though. You know, but at the same time, how far do you want to bring it?
Right. I mean, do you have any thoughts on, they're gonna not give them the food? Do you feel like, as somebody who's been there recently, that it adds a lot to, what's happening out there in terms of what we see on television?
Well, here's my opinion. We'll go to the Flint. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, since I
Taking
am
the
the
flint
fire
away.
queen.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, taking the flint away.
Yeah, I don't think that's that big a deal. I
Yeah.
really don't. You keep your embers burning, you do the best you can, and you just restart your fire. And again, everybody should know how to start a fire,
Hmm.
even with or without Flint.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like, okay, I don't know. The public thinks that's a big deal. I don't think that's a big deal. The
Hmm.
food, I don't know, like certain tribes did much better at scouring for food than others. Get back to the
Hmm.
original question. I don't remember what you want me to answer.
Yeah. In terms of like not giving them the
Oh,
rice, because just to go back to in that era that you played in, you started the game with rice or you got it at some point?
we had a bag of rice, but
Hmm.
we also my season was the first one that did breadfruit. I found it and we started cooking it.
Yeah.
So we did breadfruit at night and rice in the morning.
Hmm.
And then we got smart, and I remember Jamal I said one night, I said, why don't we cook a second pot of rice and it'll be cold, but it'll be there for the morning? And everybody was like, we like our rice hot. Well, when you couldn't get the fire started the next morning and there was no rice, we said, let's go back and revisit that. So we
Hmm.
started cooking an extra pot. So we had cooked food
Yeah,
when,
because well, Janet, that's a great point because you know what? It has been historically over, you want drama on this show. There
right,
is no bigger fight starter in the history of Survivor than giving the tribes rice. Going
right.
back to the how much are we gonna eat? Who's the best rice cook? Why do you
Yeah.
want it that way?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Who got more portions?
Yeah.
It creates so much drama.
It
It's just
does.
another thing to like if you take it away, everybody is like super lethargic and there's less things to fight about.
Yeah, but they're also less lethargic into the game. But that's where the shortened game might come into play.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
Well,
know.
I don't know. I just feel like that when you saw these people like bouncing off the walls last night after they had some rice,
Yeah.
like why wouldn't you want them like this all the time?
I agree. I agree. Give them minimal food. It's ridiculous not to, even with the shorter schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Janet, let's talk a little bit about the game. Ultimately, we saw Kane go out. It was a live tribal council, of course. The interesting thing to me has been just the way that the Tika tribe of Jam Jam and Carolyn and Carson, they to me have been able to play the middle in such a masterful way that I'm trying to like go through the history of the show, and I'm struggling to find like a group of people that played the middle so artfully. I know, like, I feel like Steven and JT and Taj in Survivor Token Sheens did a really good job with it. But these three, I mean, to this point, nobody's onto them, and it's been
I
wonderful.
know. I know. I actually think they're very, very smart and their gameplay is very smart. And we're not seeing a lot of it.
Hmm.
But I think Carolyn's really pretty smart and in the
Yeah.
way she's pulling everything together. As far as funny, right before I talked to you, I just talked to Ty too.
Hmm.
Um, I don't
Yeah.
know. I
How's
think
Ty doing?
he's doing really well. His gardening is doing very
Yes.
well. He and I were roommates at Hearts of Reality last year.
And you
So
keep up.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important. That's
Yeah.
important. Just to reach out, and say
Okay. Well, that's
hello.
going to be like us now, Janet.
I know.
I'm excited. And then yeah, and you know all these other people that I don't have a ton of contact with.
Well, that's the thing. That's the beauty of really just reaching out and doing these watch parties and
Yeah.
raising money. You get to talk to people from all the seasons.
Is Ty keeping up with the show, Janet?
He was keeping up with the show. He didn't see last night's, so I
Yeah.
couldn't tell him what happened. He
Okay,
was
no
up. He was up to
spoilers.
last night.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, everybody's really keeping up with it that I know.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then we talk crap, and then we say, all right, let's stop. Let's just say it's all good. We got to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do a lot of the old school players feel like, hey, like this is like we don't agree with a lot of the changes that are made?
Interesting. Yeah, I would say that's the dominant feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, but again, some of them are starting to say, you know what? We got to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? We're going to keep fighting this,
Mm-hmm.
and like to go back and play a 20. That's what we talk about. What would you do? How would you strategize on a 26-day schedule?
Yeah.
What do
How
you,
would you play
you
it
know,
differently?
what are you going to do differently? How are you going to, I mean, I've already been there in my head, just how differently I would be doing things. I mean, and of course, after you play the game one time, you think about, I would do
Yeah.
that differently. So,
Well, Janet, do you think a 26-day game would help you or hurt you?
hurt me.
Yeah. Why?
Because I can outlast most people.
Yeah, so they're taking away one of your strengths. And I thought about that with Danny in terms of, Danny really was very adamant about, hey, look, we don't need food. We don't need rice. We don't need to. I was picking on him a little bit on, the Twitter and on the podcast. I'm like, what is this guy's problem where, who cares? You be in the challenge, win immunity, go for it. But if he sees that as his one of his biggest strengths of hey, I'll go 100 days with no food.
I gotta tell you, when I was on Island of the Idols and I went to see Rob and Sandra.
Yep.
We talked about my fire making.
Yep.
And and I said, yeah, I thought about not making a fire one night. And Rob was like, you shouldn't. Yep. Let them freeze. He goes, let them be cold. He's of that. I got the impression. Yep. He's of that thinking of, hey, I'm going to make it. You guys suffer. I'll just sit here and watch you suffer, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Janet, can I just say one thing, though? He might be of that thinking, but I did find him to be he had a lot of complaints for the food doesn't taste good. The bed's not comfortable.
That's true. That's true.
So, that's true. The person who actually I think is more like that is probably Russell, who, famously was trying to sabotage his own camp to try to make it as miserable as possible so people wouldn't want to be there.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. But for Danny, and we couldn't assign this to him, and maybe that was part of it, but he really was making it sound like it was principle for him more so than it was a big part of his gameplay.
Yes. But that's where Danny has old school thinking.
Yeah. But throw that away. Throw your principles away because, ultimately, and, people were talking about this on Twitter also about is this really the look you want for the jury of telling everybody, arguing with them at tribal council over this point of something that already happened?
Yeah. Danny is, I think, putting himself in a bad position right now, which is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a target.
Well, let's go back to last week's episode because I really feel like that after watching this again, especially watching the opening of the episode, boy, did Jam Jam and Carson really do a number on the Ratu tribe because, we talked about last week of did they voted the wrong way on purpose. And then after they got back from tribal council, you saw Kane hey, Jam, don't even worry about this. We'll get them next time. That they played an idol tonight, but that's it. They're not going to be able to stop us on the next one. And for Jam and Carson, it was brilliant that they were able to get away with it.
I know. Carson's one of my top picks.
Yes.
And I just it's people that get overlooked that are very intelligent, you got to watch out for,
mm-hmm.
And that's another thing, people watching. I think Danny's much better at people watching than some of the other ones, but Carson, I think, really has everybody's number. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He has done, a really good job. I know he has been under the weather for the last couple of episodes.
What
and
do you think's going to happen with that? Because I know on my tribe, we'd be like,
you think get rid of him, but even after the merge,
it's good possible if not if he was on my alliance.
I don't think that people are going to worry about him in terms of how his health is doing. If anything, it would help him. I think, but I do wonder for Jam and Carson. Okay, they got away with it perfectly, and basically they got a second blindside in on Ratu after what they did at last week's vote. But Janet, is their number up now? Like they've done such a great job of playing the middle to this point. But now
I
after
don't
this,
think so. I
yes.
don't think so. I think that I think they're going to rally somewhere. They're going to pull somebody in. They're going to pull the bottom person in from one of the other tribes. They're just going to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're really good with all those stats and names, but I think, I think they're going to pull one of the girls in.
So either Lauren or Jamie that you feel like it's really going to come down to like how much are Lauren and Jamie going to be sour with them after what just happened for the second vote in a row, and will they put it together that wait, hold on, did you know about, like, imagine if they found that out of like, is that something like, could somebody like Franny, who, she wanted to take out the people in the middle, like she knew that there were people, like nobody ratted them out at that last vote. I mean, what, like somebody like a Franny could go back and say like, hey Heidi, hey Jamie, guess what? Like Carson and Jam knew that Danny was going to play the idol, and he pretended. They'll be
Yeah.
furious.
Yeah. I would be too. Oh,
Yeah.
we'd go back to camp and that would not be a quiet campground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'd be upset. But I think, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just have hope for Carson and Carolyn. And Jam. I have, whatever.
Oh, you're sort of indifferent on Jam.
I am indifferent on Jam.
Because his name is too similar to yours. Your Jan.
I feel like he is doing a good job with his game, but I feel like he's too flippy floppy.
Yeah.
For me.
Interesting. And Janet, this is a hot take because we know that from the episodes that Jam takes names. Okay. So
he does.
Watch your back now.
He does. I know. Yeah. Jam, you're coming for me right here.
Yes. He doesn't like it if you throw his name out there like that. So how is what he's doing different than what Carson is doing from your perspective?
Good question.
Is it that he's more active?
He's probably more verbal about it. Carson goes under the radar a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's their styles. That's all. That's just their styles.
Yeah. I do think that for Carson, I think his game has been a little bit more of like, help me, like I'm in trouble, like give me the information. And I think that people have prayed, like not prayed on him, but they want to help him. He's vulnerable. And
they're looking at him as a weakling. They're looking at him that like we have to help you. You poor little boy.
And we also have then Jam. I feel like Jam has been on the bottom, but he has had to play his ass off. And I do feel like that, at least back in the day, if these two people get to the final tribal council, I feel like the jury is more likely to reward the person who they feel like that they, really played hard, as opposed to the person that they had, sympathy for along the way.
I agree. In that regard, I think Jam. But Carson's plan, I think we're going to see a lot more of him.
Oh, he's very smart, but he's been such a good job of hiding it that I do wonder, and we've seen surprising winners the last couple seasons, people that have been able to like pull back the curtain at Final Tribal Council and explain what they were doing the whole time. So I don't doubt that he has the ability to do that, but I have been very much in awe of what Jam has been doing really since we got to the merge, that he has been, had to play so aggressively and then also has like put on so much charm of winning, just about everybody over to his side. Like he always has everybody laughing and feeling good. And I think that's really important.
Going back to Carson, playing dumb and stuff like that, or not as smart as he is.
Yeah.
That kind of happened again. Every season has one. Xander played the dumb kid when he's really intelligent. Jack on my season,
Yeah.
played the fun boy when there were some serious things going on. So
Mhm.
everyone has that, and it's how far that's going to carry him it's when he decides to turn the
Yeah.
switch.
And the other thing about that is also, I feel like that, I'm seeing the confessionals, I'm seeing what Jam Jam has going on and how he's having so much fun with it. But I also wonder that for the people that are on the jury, how much, I mean, can they stay mad at Jam Jam? Could they be upset with him of like, hey, Jam Jam, you got us feeling good about you, and I thought we were friends. How could you do this to us?
You know what? I think that that's something that they could initially think, but then after time, when you're on Ponderosa and you're talking to other people,
Yeah.
say, you know what, that was pretty damn good
You
gameplay.
win them over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like really, that was he's playing the game.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's what kind of game, but he's playing the game.
Yep. Janet, I would love to get your take on, we're talking about this idea of, if Carson could potentially be seen as somebody who might be looked at as like a vulnerable person, does the jury reward that? And then, for me, that always like gets me thinking about how survivor moms end up getting, and I feel like that this was something that you were, I feel like able to avoid in
I
your season where that there was like, you had to go home because if you got to the end, you were going to win. It wasn't going to be a case of, the mom who gets to the end, who gets 0 votes. Like, what do you really attribute that to?
It was really important to me to not fulfill the mom role. I attribute that to, honestly, at that time, I was the chief lifeguard of 200
Hmm.
males and females that were young. And honestly, I spent every day with kids from 16 to 60,
Hmm.
in very active roles. But I always believed, see, throughout my whole life, though, I've had to break a lot of glass ceilings. First woman lifeguard on the beach, first woman this, blah, 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 blah. Going on to Survivor, I wanted to be the first older woman not to get voted off first.
Hmm.
And the way that I see that is, and I really believe this, I learn from young people more. See, I don't assume just because I'm here longer and I'm older that I'm better or I'm wiser or I know more. Screw that. I know people my own age that have their head so far up their butt they don't know what the hell's going on. I learn more. I have learned from my 16-year-olds. I've learned from my 7-year-old granddaughters.
Hmm.
I am not. That's the difference. Because I can look in somebody's eyes and I can genuinely say, teach me, help me,
Hmm.
and mean it. And they're going to know I mean it. I don't believe that. I believe respect is earned. And that was one of the things my father taught me. And I really believe that if you show respect to other people, it doesn't matter what age you are, they're going to take you in as part of them. And I've been lucky to have that happen all my life. Jeff asked me the very first time I was interviewing for, Survivor. He says, "Who do you see as your circle of friends, your tightest alliance?" I said, "Young athletic guys." He's
Yeah.
like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, there's no
He said,
sexual
mine too.
problems. I
Yeah.
just want to play. We just have fun." I said, that's all that it's all about. I really believe people accept you if you give them the respect first.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what I attribute it to.
Yeah, and thank you, Janet. That was really well said. So I would love to get your take on now. She's been a big fan favorite so far this season, but how do you feel like Carolyn is fitting in with all that? Because Carolyn's story this season really has been, hey, nobody is listening to me. People think I'm just like a kooky character, but I know what I'm doing, but they're
Mhm.
not believing me. And we see her talking about this, but other than Franny last night, he said, "Oh, I think I could learn from Carolyn," but it
Mhm.
wasn't so much in the game. Like she was talking about, like learning from Carolyn as a person. So,
Mhm.
what do you feel like, and do you feel like that Carolyn is like boxed in terms of where she is in the game?
It's such a good question. She's such a complex, interesting person, but so is everybody.
Yeah,
The thing about Carolyn is, and this goes back to what I was saying. I think Carolyn is really smart in here, but
yeah,
she's wrapped in wild personality. I'm who I am. I'm smart in here, but I'm wrapped in somebody that's going to talk and somebody's going to
hmm,
do this and somebody's going to do that. I think that Carolyn is going to use those differences as assets for her, and I think I think she's going to do well with it because she believes in it. She's okay with who she is,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she's really smart, and I think she's using the crazy show as a
Yeah.
deflection. I think she's deflecting.
So, Janet, you played with somebody who Carolyn said that really helped inspire her to go on to the show in Nora. And I talked to Jamal last week, and we talked about this a little bit. But do you see some Nora in Carolyn? And if so, how do you play with a player who like may not necessarily be on the same wavelength as everybody else?
Well, the first 3 seconds that the show opened up and I saw Carolyn, I pointed and said, Nora.
Mm-hmm.
They're similar, but they are very different
Sure.
at the core. Playing with somebody of that nature is there's a lot of time that has to be put into her that could go out the door like that.
Yeah.
You really never knew who she was really loyal to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the case with Carolyn. I think Carolyn's a little bit more loyal, or we're seeing that edit. That's
Right.
the other thing. She's close with Jam Jam, but she bitches about Jam Jam, which Nora was close with. I'll use me, but she'll bitch about me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't bitch about me that much, but she bitched about Jamal a ton.
Yeah.
And he used his idol on her. He talked with her. He was so much kinder to her than I was. And all that goes out the window. She's and I think Carolyn is going to do what Carolyn is best for her, which good for her. So would everybody else. They're just wrapped in a different show.
Yeah. Well, I do think that this relationship with Carolyn and Jam Jam and Carson has been so interesting because I do think that while, Carolyn and Jam Jam have gone back and forth, they don't have necessarily like the smoothest relationship. Carson has been there to sort of like, and one of the other podcasters said this, but he's almost like the adopted son of Carolyn and Jam Jam and doesn't want mom and dad to ever get divorced because he's like keeping them, this three, on the same page. So if Jam Jam says something, you saw what happened when Carson wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're a very symbiotic trio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And think about your seasons though. Think about the people that were the calming force in the alliances.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Carson is. He's the calming force in the storm.
Yeah. I would love to talk a little bit about Franny. And, she was somebody who, she won the challenge 2 weeks ago. Ultimately, her showman's partner gets voted out. And then she was vulnerable last week and the votes were coming on her. And Danny saved her with the idol. But now here she is, wins her second immunity. And it does feel like that things are trending in the right direction for Franny. So what do you think of Franny and her prospects here now that we're at 8?
I like Franny, but I don't know. I don't see her.
But
I
feel like there's a but coming, Janet.
I think she's going to be voted. It's going to be her, Danny.
Yeah.
I think because, and I think if she didn't win this next immunity or the last, whatever she just won, she would have been better off.
Interesting.
I think she would have been better off not winning it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a tough spot because the votes were definitely going to come her way this time. And I know that she had just come off of the tribal council where she did get the majority of the votes. So I think that is a tough spot. I mean, she didn't want to throw the challenge when
I wouldn't have thrown it.
Yeah. So it's a tough spot for her to not want to do it.
Who's she really tight with?
I don't know who she's tight with. Heidi, maybe.
That's the thing. I can't figure her out. Franny, where she's going now. I think she's got lost footing since Matt's been gone. And I don't know. But you know what? That's where Carson should scoop her right up.
Yeah. I do feel like that maybe she is tight with Carolyn. Potentially, we've seen her like talking with Carolyn. We saw her like speaking highly of Carolyn in this last episode. But the other interesting thing that's been going on here as we've gotten through the merge. Okay, so when we look at the votes that have happened since we got the tribes together. Okay, Josh, Matt, Brandon, and now Kane, where in the beginning of the season, it was all the women getting voted out. But Janet, now here we are, and
All
4
the
men in a
men.
row voted out.
I know. I go back and forth on the vote outs situation, and I'm going to be very careful with this because, yeah,
In terms of women getting voted out early?
Yes, because see, I'm all about supporting women and getting them and helping them, but I'm also all about doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I don't want to say something, like we're all getting voted out because we're women. I don't know that that's why they got voted out.
Yeah.
They got voted out because of a behavior or something that happened or didn't happen, whether you were male, female, or purple. I don't, you know what I mean? That's kind of where I come. But at the same time, I've also been, not on the top of the food chain because I'm an older woman. I mean, you know how much I get discriminated or whatever,
right?
Because I'm just an older woman, and that was one of the things Jeff needs to hear that. He has a stereotype towards old people.
Yeah.
Bring it.
But yeah, and Janet, they're people that are the same, his peers.
Yeah, I think I'm close. I think I'm close to his age. I might be older than him by a year. I think we're within the same year or so. I don't know.
Yeah. But you played in a season with 2 tribes. Are you somebody who feels like that the 3-tribe season has really put more of a focus on just the challenge performance?
I hate the 3 tribes.
Yeah.
I hate it. I think they have to do it because they shorten the season. The 2 tribes with more people having more time gives you time to really play the game back at camp. They don't have that kind of time. I think that's a straight up logistical thing. And in order to get to the same outcome of relationships, you got to make them smaller.
Right.
So that game, but
yeah, that is a fair point that doesn't come up a lot in terms of the 3 tribes where, if you're only going to have maybe 5 tribal councils before it's ultimately the merge and you have tribes of 9, you have one tribe where, maybe if they go to tribal council once, twice, and they have 9 people, like, are we learning anything about these people that are at the bottom? It's good and it's bad. It's like, yes, there are places to hide and there are options, but there's also like very good chances that, we're going to spend, a lot of time on the people that are going out, and then we're going to get to the merge and not really know as many of the people that are there. Cause how many people can we focus on in a 9-person tribe over a couple of votes?
Right.
So, there's
I
a
think
yin and yang.
Yeah, I think it's a logistical thing that they do 3 tribes. That's just my opinion.
Right. But that maybe the challenges don't need to be as physical and getting more physical, Janet.
I like it.
You like them.
Because that's where I will shine.
Yes.
If you put me up against another woman, I'm pretty damn strong. You know what I mean? So you put me up. The one challenge from last night where they were holding, that's the one I fell and almost cut my toe off.
Yeah.
And those things are hard for me sometimes.
So this is a fair point, Janet, because like, when we're talking about like, okay, well, we're making it like make it a more level playing field for women. And you're saying, hold on now. Well, that's not the case for all women, that's a big advantage for you in the game, where a tribe that has you probably would never want to get rid of you in the pre-merge because you're such an asset in the challenges.
That's exactly true. Like, there was not a thought that I would ever sit out, and that was also part of what I wanted to bring, as the older woman. One of my things was, hey, you're not going to get a slacker here. And that's why I went in as a provider, and not the woman that's going to work around camp.
Yeah. Would you have ever sat out of the challenge for rice? They didn't do that in your season.
No, never. Well, I did sit out of one to eat, but we made that. Yes, we did. But we made that plan before we went in.
Yes.
We had a very good idea.
There was a lot working against you, where Lauren had gone to the Island of the Idols, right? And she had gotten Tommy to like work on like, hey, everybody, like, let's sit out, sit out for breakfast, everybody.
Yeah. And the thing is, in my season, I had the least amount of food out of everybody
Yeah.
the entire season, and at that one, I was needing something.
Yeah. And Janet, that was one of the best things I feel like that they did in that season, because I feel like that something like that to me was far more interesting than the ride. And I know for some people it hit, and this was probably like the most fruitful of the rice negotiations that we've seen in the new era. But Lauren, she like had a challenge that she was trying to do. She was trying to gain an advantage, and she had to use her social game to try to get people to like do something that, maybe wouldn't have been in their best interest. And to me,
Right.
I don't know, I felt like that was a little bit more interesting to watch, but I guess, for each their own.
It was perfect for Lauren. It played right to her strengths of her social game.
Yeah, and it was something that really got to showcase her
Yeah, yeah,
in that season, as
yeah.
opposed to, really we got to see just like, only like Danny's like competitiveness that we got to see showcased, which, we kind of like, we know this already.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. It's just I think that when they all decided to sit out, the four of them decided to sit out for so they could get the
Yes.
rice. What did you think about the fact that Danny went back on his word on that?
So we watched this a couple times. I think that Danny was kidding. Like, I think that he was like, yeah, if you sit out, we won't vote you out tonight. And then Carson like jumped in and said, yeah, I won't vote you out either. And then I think that he like doubled down of like, yeah, Scout's honor. Like, I think he was like, I personally, I think he was being sarcastic
Do
both
you?
times. I did. But I think the other people weren't. I think the other people were very eager, but I think he was so annoyed about the whole thing. I think we got to see a little bit of sarcastic Danny, spicy Danny.
I think I don't know. I don't take it the same way,
Mm-hmm.
but I also, if I was there and when it was going on, I was thinking, I wouldn't believe him.
Yeah.
So they
You should.
didn't
Nobody
matter.
should, and nobody did. Even
Yeah,
Kane at Tribal
yeah,
Council was like, but Jeff seemed like, what?
yeah.
Danny, you said, he's like, Jeff, I'm not a
Scout's
scout.
honor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And like, what? Oh, I can't
yeah.
believe this. This chicanery on Survivor. Oh my god.
And then he
Um,
said, I was never a Boy Scout. That was pretty funny.
right, right. I want to ask a little bit about Heidi. And,
Okay.
she's somebody who's kind of come into focus a little bit in the post-merge, that she was part of the vote to send Matt home. We see her ultimately find another idol this week. So, Janet, how do you feel about where Heidi is?
I identify with her a lot.
Yes.
I think that she's watching. I think she's in a good place. I think she's sitting back and watching what's going on with the different people. And I think she knows she's going to have to make a move soon. The other thing I thought was very interesting, how they're all searching for idols in the open. That happens on every season. You get to that point in the game and everybody just says, I'm going idol searching.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think Heidi finding another idol, and I don't know. I think if she plays it right, she could make that leap into the finals.
Hmm. Who does she need to go to the end with?
Not Carolyn.
Hmm.
I think
Why not Carolyn?
because I think if Carolyn can sell her story, that's the big if.
Yeah.
At Tribal Council, which I believe Carolyn can. See, in my season, Nora couldn't do that.
No.
We went in our season, we all decided we were giving everybody a clean slate. And if Nora was able to sell her story, that could have been different. Who knows?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think Carolyn will be able to sell her story. It depends if she's on
Yeah.
Carolyn night.
Has a great story. I do wonder. I feel like that though. Heidi, to me, I feel like that Carolyn is a good person for Heidi to get to the end with, because I feel like that for the
Do
other
you?
folks that she's with on Soka, in terms of Franny and Danny, and maybe they could kind of split the votes if they all got, 3 of them got to the end. I think that both of them have sort of like, hey, we won physical challenges,
Yeah,
and they have
Franny
that.
wouldn't win on them. Or Heidi
Yeah.
wouldn't win on them. Yeah.
Yeah, and Danny might be seen as a little bit more of like, oh, I played the idol.
Yeah.
We made these moves. I was the leader, and I think that
Yeah, he was
might
the
be.
challenge beast.
But if Heidi went to the end with some a different
Lauren.
group, Lauren, I don't want to say just all the other women,
Right.
but we're because I think Jam Jam is going to be tough to beat.
I think
But
you're right. It's blowing my doors off, but I think you're right.
oh, well, Janet, you know just what to say on this podcast. But it's also, Janet, that and you know how it is. Like, there's so much we don't know. Like, at the final 8, did we know to think that Gabler had a shot in Snowball's chance in hell to win the game?
You know what? I
You
did.
did? You
I
did.
did.
Yeah.
I honestly did.
How did you know?
Because I was watching a lot of what he wasn't saying in his confessionals, and what I was watching the in between, the things that weren't said in the tribe in the show. And I was like, he's in on everything. He's on the outskirts, all these different fringes. Nobody has a thing going against him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy pulls this off.
Yeah. And he was able to.
Yeah.
You did not have the knowledge is power in your season, but these like seeds of it were starting to be there. And really, ultimately, you kind of got burned on like a knowledge is power type situation in that you had an idol. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tommy was the only person he knew that you had the idol. He knew that Dean had the idol nullifier and got
or he
Dean,
was going to the island of the idols. Yeah.
Right. And got Dean to play it on you at the specific time when basically it was the equivalent of like taking your idol away at the night that you were going to meet it.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you feel about like all of this, like survivors having to switch their idols and advantages around to prevent people from like being able to subvert them?
I got to tell you, I put myself as if I was playing, watching this stuff. And I'm like, damn, they're finding idols. And now you can't trust whether it's a real idol or not. I feel like your footing, the rug has been pulled out from any solid footing that anybody thinks they might have. And with that, it puts everybody into a state of paranoia that plays a paranoid game. And that, again, is changing the game. Now, we need to choose to embrace that or hate it. Do I hate it? Yes. Do I need to embrace it? If I ever played the game again, I'd need to embrace it. So,
How do you embrace the paranoia? Are you the calming presence, or do you have to get as paranoid as everybody else?
No. Because of the job that I have had on the beach and dealing with lives and people, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
In those situations, you want me. I am the calm in the storm. I'm the boom, 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 boom. Here, that. And then when it's all over, I throw up.
Like Carson. Speaking of Carson throwing up, he was talking about how like, okay, on Survivor, they're just taking like unripe papayas and they're just charring them and they're eating them and they're gross. I think that, all the other survivors ate the breadfruit that was growing in Fiji. What was the worst things that you all were eating when you were playing in Fiji?
Well, when we would catch the little crabs, they're only like this big. I remember Jamal and I sitting there for like an hour. Each of us has like one little crab leg in each hand. I mean, these are minute, people. These are like a 1/4 inch long, and the flies were all over our hands, and I would just eat them. And the ants.
You ate the flies, Janet?
Well, I didn't eat the flies, but I may have. Who knows if I did?
Yeah.
If they were there and they were going into my mouth, I didn't care.
Hey, that's their problem.
I didn't care. And then we had mold in the rice, so I would just kind of pick it out a little bit, and it's fine. But and then I had some cuts on my feet because I fell, almost caught my. So
Sure.
we would watch all the ants and the flies congealing on the blood on my toe.
Oh my God, you didn't eat that, right?
No, I didn't eat
Okay.
that, but
Sometimes in the water though, right? Like
Yeah.
the fish, like they come and they like want to start like eating
Yeah,
your wounds.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. But I would have to say that was it. I remember Nora, especially, she found a washed up onion that washed up on the
Yeah.
shore. And we were like, she ate it.
Oh
She
my
ate
God,
it.
I'm a little queasy to begin with today, Janet. So
The
let's.
onion story was
Oh my
crazy.
God.
And then what else did
Did
we
she
pull?
like it?
She said it was great.
Oh my
She said it was great.
God.
I was like, oh, and then there were these things that we would shake out of the trees, and we called them giant candy corns.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they were, but I sucked on them and ate them.
Giant candy corn.
They look,
Regular candy corn's not that great, Janet.
they were in the top of the trees, and you had to shake the trees.
Yeah.
And then the almond nut things on when I was on Lyro. It's the island they're on now.
Okay.
That's the funny thing, seeing the islands and knowing
You
what's out.
recognize it.
And I would bang them open, and we get this tiny little sliver. But that wasn't gross. That was just small.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask about some strategy that's going on. And this is something that I have not seen a good answer to. And sometimes, it's really hard that, we have all these podcasts, not just this one, but all the different podcasts that are out there. And we're all like trying to break things down all week long. And sometimes we miss it. Something like that happened today with Kane when I spoke with him. And he told me about how, part of the issue going back to that merge vote was that people didn't buy that Soka really wanted to vote out Josh. They thought that maybe it was just a ploy and that they were going to play an idol on him, or he had an idol. And then ultimately, that's what was gonna happen. And maybe people are like, oh yeah, we actually did talk about that. All right, I missed it. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, I did not. That was not when I heard a lot of people thinking about that. Maybe Soka was in on it, and that they were going to, like, Danny was going to save him with the idol at that tribal council, like he did to Franny. That being said, so Franny cast one vote last night, and she cast a vote for Jamie. And to my knowledge, at this point on Thursday afternoon, nobody knows why. Janet, let me add a piece of information also.
Okay.
At the tribal council, I watched it again. I wanted to see, like, who's the first person to start this live tribal council off. Kane is whispering to Franny.
Yes.
He did say he had a good relationship with Franny. Franny tells Kane later on in the live tribal council, I think they're voting for Jamie. Now, in the real time, you think, oh, okay, well, she's trying to dupe Kane. She's trying to either get an idol to get played or what.
Right.
But she really did vote for Jamie. So what the hell is going on with Franny's vote, Janet?
I think who told Franny to vote for that? Go back.
Franny told Kane that I think they're voting for Jamie. You see it as Jam requested, subtitled on the screen.
Right.
She's the only person who votes for Jamie.
So that tells me more that she's on the outs. And somebody just told her to put that name down, and either to set her up as a future target, or they just didn't want to confide in her, which I really think.
Do you think she's left out? I mean, how does Danny
I think she's left out.
How does Danny play an idol on her at the last vote, and then Danny and Heidi leave her out of this vote? Okay. So that's wild to me that she could be on the outs after they played but I don't know, maybe did Danny think it was suspicious that she had said of, hey, why don't we put the votes on Tika? Did they think like, oh, maybe she's working with Kane?
I think Franny, because that's what we're not seeing.
Danny did not like it, Janet, when she said to him, like, hey, why don't we vote? He's like, that's crazy. Why would we do that? That makes no sense.
Yeah. I think that Franny is moving to the outside of Danny. Danny's like, I think that she's not as trusted. I really believe that's why they told her what to put, because we did it in ours. Yeah. We would tell Nora, we would tell different people, just put that name down, and because we didn't know what they were going to do. Yeah. So that's probably where Franny's at. They don't know what she's going to do. Reading between the lines. That's what's going on, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's like I feel like there's part of the story that we're missing here, and I feel like it's a big one.
Well, we might see it next week with hopefully maybe they'll show more of Franny.
Maybe,
I
yeah,
think
maybe
we
we'll
need
go
to see
back.
more of I think Heidi and Lauren. I think oh no, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm never mind.
Okay. You want to go there, or it's too far off of Survivor?
We're getting off of Survivor,
Okay.
so I'll
All right.
go anywhere, but
Okay.
you lead the
Well, if
podcast.
look, if it's interesting, Janet, I want to hear it.
I just this is the time that if the girls, because I hate the girls alliance concepts.
Hmm.
I hate any group like that.
Yes.
But this, if they wanted to do something, this would be, and not call it a girls alliance, call it a lower, the weaker, I don't know, whatever you want. But if they
Hmm.
actually pulled Franny in away from Danny, she's not going to win against Danny.
Hmm.
I don't think.
Yeah, I think Danny has to go. I think Danny is probably, not long for this world. And then ultimately, and then that you made a good point about Franny, about how she's done so well in the challenges that I know Lauren won last week, but I mean, Franny has looked so strong that she might also have to go as well.
And but this is where Franny needs to be smart enough to say, maybe this is the time I leave my alliance. That's what I did wrong in
Yeah.
my show. I stayed too loyal to Tommy, one vote too long.
Hmm.
And
How do
that's
you know
where,
when it's time, Janet?
how do you, now I will know better.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to, I do some speaking and I speak to a lot of young girls. And one of the things
Yeah.
that I want them to know is listen to your freaking gut. In 64 years, my gut has never, ever, ever been wrong. Even when it came down to my first marriage, when I was like, I should turn around and run. I should
Wow.
have listened. But I'm telling you, my gut has never been wrong. And I think that's what they have to listen to is their gut. Franny knows in her gut she needs to do something.
Okay. Wow. I
It's
wish I
having
could
the
say that because
courage.
I've had so many fantasy football drafts, Janet, that have gone very poorly.
Well, no, I'm not talking about in regards to that kind of stuff. I'm talking about in regards to people. But
Okay.
Franny, I think if she can listen to her gut, I think her gut's telling her she needs to move.
I told her to, hey, stay close to Matt, and look at them now.
Well, I didn't think she should stay close to Matt.
I know, but Jen, how do you put a price on love?
Yeah, $1 million. That's how you put a price on love. You say, well, we can meet enough in the, here and there and everywhere, and
Yeah.
we'll meet off stage.
Right. Yeah, Jack and Elizabeth from season 39. I don't have the update,
They're
but that's still
engaged.
that's a happy
Yeah.
couple, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited for the two of them.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely couple.
Okay. We saw also last night, Janet, that there was a rare down day in the 26-day era. So first, let me just get your reaction to seeing that on the show. Did that throw you for a loop that they had a day off?
It did, and it made me think of they were my favorite days. That's
Yeah.
when so much gameplay takes place, is
Right.
back at camp, and that's what they're not getting. They're not getting that. Those down days are so important for gameplay.
I agree.
And that's what that reminded me of. And again, it made me sad that they're not getting that aspect of the game, but it's the new game. We got to embrace it.
Yeah. I will say though so those days where you didn't have a challenge and there was nothing to do, sometimes those could also be very boring days. Those are
Well,
long days also.
and again, that's where Tommy and Dean and Jamal was okay with it. All of the boys, really, the younger
Yeah.
boys were bored. I was just like, I'm okay with this. Let's just
Yeah.
put our feet by the fire and just like clean our socks.
Hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah, it was interesting that I feel like they've been working on the tribe flag for 3
Ever.
episodes.
See, and I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not about the decorations. I'm a very pragmatic girl. And I used to watch that stuff going on, and I'm like, are you serious? Go get some firewood.
Hmm. Janet, I have some questions for you from the listeners of the podcast. Are you up for that?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. How about a question about, okay. Nick Fishman wants to know if there was an idol of Janet's on the island. What advice would you give to Carolyn to help her win the game? I don't know. What is this? Ghost Island? It's one of your old idols. So all right.
Like,
So I guess what he's saying, if you were like Robin Sandra and you could give Carolyn advice, I think that's what he's trying to say.
What advice would I give Carolyn?
Yes.
Actually, I told when I was on the island, I said this would be the best job ever. I want this job. I would tell Carolyn to continue with her mannerisms, but keep her eyes open to who's sleeping next to who's talking to who, and see if I would question her old alliance like Jam Jam at this point. You're at a point in the game when you need to question your alliances and ask yourself, how long are you going to hang on to that, and watch what's going on.
I do think that she needs to stick with those two for a little while longer, but I do think it would be very important for her to ultimately get rid of them at the end.
I think she needs to get rid of them sooner than that.
Sooner. Yeah. Do you think Carolyn has, as the, fire-making queen, do you think that Carolyn has it in her?
No. To make fire?
Yeah.
You got to be making fire every day. I mean, I don't.
A lot of people don't even touch the fire to try to. Yeah.
I know. It blows me away. I have flints and knives all over my house. I got pulled over by the cops and I had to give up my knife.
Sorry for you. Yeah. The police took your knife?
No, they didn't actually. I was actually going on a fundraiser for a kid for Give Kids the World, and I did fire making with them, and I got pulled over for speeding because I was thinking.
Yeah.
But he let me go. He was very nice.
Okay. Thank goodness. All right.
But I said I have a knife.
Yeah, I'd hate to see on like TMZ, Janet, where like survivor Janet Carbin arrested with weapons in the car.
I know.
Okay. This is a question from Annie Mary Ross and said, I'm excited to hear from Janet. Do you recognize dynamics of the Carolyn and Carson relationship that are reminiscent of you and Tommy? Do you see that as a similar relationship at all, or is it much different?
No, I do not see that as the same relationship as me and Tommy. No, Tommy and I, to this day, have a very special bond.
How's Tommy doing?
He's good. He's married.
Yes.
They just went to Costa Rica, I think.
I saw that Dom Abate on Instagram ran into him there.
Is that not crazy?
Yeah.
But they're doing great. He's got a good administrative job in a school, and he's doing great. I'm really happy for him. I hope to see him in the fall.
Okay.
So back to, no, I do not see their relationship like Tommy and I. Again, I'm just not going to, because I have a special relationship. No.
Yeah. And it was like as Tommy compared to a mother and son relationship, but it wasn't like that you were like like the relationship of like where Carolyn has a young son, and we saw some video of him. I think that Carson might be closer to it's probably a toss up if Carson is closer to Carolyn's son's age or Carolyn's age.
Well, you got to remember that I would go out and hang out with my son. So Tommy and I, we actually go out and hang out. I'm there with
Well, I'm there with Carolyn. That Carson, I believe, is closer to my son's age than to my age. Also, Okay. How about a question from Docs, who says, Janet, so excited that you're on the podcast. Hope to see you out on the island again. Do you have a favorite player this season? And how nervous were you for her when you saw her climbing on the rock in last night's episode? So he's assuming it's Carolyn. But Janet, what do you think about they're letting the survivors climb on these rocks that already took Matthew out of the game?
Nora climbed the mountain.
Yeah,
over there, like the second day, like she fell down.
I bet you're like, hands off, let them do what they want.
That's what I'm saying.
But don't you have rules on the beach, Janet, of like, don't go cross that line, that's dangerous.
Nope. You do what you want.
There's no
You know?
rules at the beach?
The only time I got yelled at was when I was going to eat something poisonous and
Yes.
they slapped it out of my hand.
Mhm.
But no, there's really no rules. It's just stupidity.
Yes. Okay. Are you talking about on Survivor, or you're talking about where
I'm
at,
talking about
at
on
your
Survivor.
beaches? Yeah.
When I went spearfishing one time, I freaked them all out because I went out past where no one ever went, past the breakers and past all the things. I was like 300 yards out, but I was floating in between the coral reefs. You
Yes.
have to know how
Okay.
to do that.
Yeah. And did you catch anything?
No, I was shooting for there was a white tip shark, but
Yeah.
the spear was too dull. I
Yeah.
did. I caught 4 fish. I was the first woman to catch spearfish, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a secret scene where Franny did it, but I guess they couldn't put it in the episode because we got to make it all about the rice.
There's a secret scene from my show with me catching the fish. It was such a proud. That was one of my goals. Was to
Yeah.
spear a fish.
Yeah. Okay. Also, Nick Fishman wants to know, what would be your mindset for the rice negotiation? What would you be trying to like hype the other people up to sit out or to play in the challenge?
I personally, on that situation, would have hyped people to sit out, and I would have tried to play.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you can like weaken the field,
Yeah,
and get a
I would have
shot at
tried to
immunity.
weaken the field. That's exactly what I would have
But
done.
you know, to me, and I have to go back and take a look at it, but I kind of feel like that the rice negotiation is bupkis in that there's never a time, and I'll go back and I'll do my research on this. But if somebody's good at challenges or they're like clearly on the bottom, they never sit out. It's all the people that are safe that sit out of the challenge anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are we proving here?
Yeah, but I wouldn't have made the "I wouldn't vote you out" statement.
Yes, yes.
You know.
Okay. Let me ask from Moratab Blue says, which 44 cast member would you take to the end if you were on this season? Who would you take to the end if you were on this season? Who do you think you would get along with?
Who would I get along with? Well,
Yes.
first of all, I would totally get along with Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Danny.
Yeah.
I would here. It's easier for me to say who I would not get along with.
Okay.
Probably Carolyn.
Yeah.
She would drive me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I would have to have the mental fortitude
Yeah.
to say embrace it. I do this whole thing in my head and enjoy it. Like Nora was great. We used to say we were putting Nora on Nora TV. Tommy would get her going and Nora would entertain us. It was Nora TV all night long.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do with Carolyn. I would learn to enjoy her.
I think I would too. Like I've heard other people say, like, I love watching Carolyn on my television, but I don't know if I would get along with her 24/7. I would love it.
My problem would be being cold and hungry.
They have so much clothes, Janet.
I know. They have so much clothes. I mean, I look, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't see that piece before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you know, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
I get along with everybody.
You seem very easy to get along with, Janet. I get that from you. All right. So Docs also had a question about, did Franny cast the vote for Jamie to validate the rumor that she was spreading about hearing Jamie's name coming up? Okay, so going back to what we were talking about earlier, did Franny think that there was like a possibility? Like, did she learn from Tika? Is she spreading like disinformation of like, hey, everybody, I'm hearing Jamie's name. I'm hearing Jamie's name from somebody. And then she puts a vote on Jamie, but I don't know. It's like weird that unless you're trying to throw Tika under the bus of like that somebody from Tika was trying.
I think that again goes back to her being on the outs and not having all.
I think that's Occam's razor. Like maybe there is another answer, but the simplest explanation is that she might have been on the outs for some reason.
Yeah, I really believe that. I think she was told what was going on, and everybody kind of just ignored that. Yeah.
Janet, I know that you did a lot of prep to do this podcast here. I know you checked out the Survivor Know-It-Alls. You checked out my conversation with Kane this morning. Any feedback on what Kane had to say?
I think that he was. I loved Kane, by the way. I
Yes.
thought he was. I was hoping he was going to go far, but I was worried. Um, I think he's got a good perspective on
Yeah.
what happened to
He
him,
was a good sport.
and I think he was a very good sport. I think that he's much more mature than his chronological years emotionally. I think he's good. I think he's also at times going to be like, what the f happened, those times are coming, as
Yeah.
we all know they come, but I think that he's in a good space.
Janet, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
I did not, but I have a daughter that does it every week. I
Okay.
don't understand it, but she's very avid with it.
Yes. And did she like Kane? Did that appeal to her that he was on the show?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You're a D&D fan. You got a whole base right there. It's like me going out for swimmers. Swimmers are going to hope swimmers do well.
Right. Yeah. I have not heard if the Dungeons and Dragons community has really adopted Kane as like their favorite survivor ever.
They may
But I
not
would love
watch
to know.
Survivor.
That's true. But for the like Venn diagram of Dungeons and Dragons fans and Survivor fans, I would love to see them like really like embrace Kane as their new leader.
You are such a statistical guy.
But I'm not really, like I say, I'm probably more of like maybe like the history of the show I think is more interesting to me than
I
like,
think
because there are some people that are really into like the numbers.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And counting all these different things and stuff like that. That for me, and I do like talk about it like a ton because of the podcast, but I do feel like that I do like to draw on like the history, and there's really never been a character on the show who's really that's been like his thing.
Yeah, you're right.
So he has that going for him. But and then I know you also listen to On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, to hear Jeff. And this was an episode that Jeff took on some of the critics where he addressed some of Survivor's most controversial twists.
I heard it, and it was an interesting podcast, and it was full of a lot of information and a lot of unspoken information too, I think. I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah, would love to get your feedback. What in particular did you think was very interesting about and look, these are always they don't talk a lot about the episode, but it is very interesting to hear a little bit about the thought process of how these things come to be. And how they feel it. And there might be sometimes there's things that's like, oh yeah, they did that and that was a disaster. And then you hear Jeff talk about it like, no, we love that. That was the best. We're gonna do it again. And you're like, wait, what?
I know. Like the nullifier. That should go out the window. And I'm waiting for him to say something on this podcast about my season, and he hasn't said a word. But
yes.
The 26-day schedule is here to stay.
That's what he talked about today.
And I knew that was a logistical thing. I mean, they'd almost be silly not to.
Yeah, look, and that's something I don't even get mad about the 26 days because of, there's a lot of factors in there in terms of budget, in terms of like the COVID protocol that they had to do. Like, I mean, I feel like that they should, like, they're so, like, I do feel like they get so dug in of like, no, we like it better. Like, I would like if they would say like, oh, we have to do that. Like, maybe we could get to 30. Maybe we'll do it. Like, maybe we'll go a little bit longer. Like, I don't think that season needs to be 30 days. But I am much more of like, I guess like my personality is like, all right, well, let's find like some middle ground here.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily, and I guess like when you're running Survivor, maybe you can't be that way, but they're like, no, we love it. 26 days here to stay. It's the best.
Yeah. I thought I heard something in there that there might be a special season coming up.
Yeah, they said that maybe, and guess what? They'll do the Edge of Extinction for.
And it's going to be something that is similar to that.
Yeah, And
Yeah.
again, Janet, that for people that think I'm like the biggest critic and biggest hater, honestly, if they did the Edge of Extinction and then just one person came back and it was at the merge and it was over, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
And that my problem is when somebody comes back and it's the final five.
Yeah.
Even Redemption Island. You want to do Redemption Island?
Yeah.
Go ahead, do it in the pre-merge. And then I'd rather see a Redemption Island duel instead of a reward challenge on some of these
Yeah.
episodes. And then
Well,
after it's over, then let somebody in and that's it.
and it seems like that's what is going to happen, whether it's a second chances or a special season of some sort, and it will involve some sort of a comeback situation.
Yeah, Jeff loves that.
Yeah. Because,
Mhm.
and again, that's logistics. You're getting people out there that fans know or people know. You don't want to see them leave right in the
Right.
beginning of the game.
Right. You understand why they would do it with like these
Yeah.
returning players. So
Yeah.
I get that. My big issue is the idea that somebody comes back right at the end of the game. You want to do it
Yeah.
for the first half. Again, I'm fine with it. I'm
Yeah.
looking for compromise here, Janet.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Like any good relationship.
That's what we try to do. But it's they're very entrenched on some things.
They are. And, so those were some of the things, and of course where Jeff gets his ideas and how they come about. But I kind of knew a lot of that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now I know you are a great fire maker. They talked a lot about the Final Four fire making, which is rather unpopular. How do you feel about it?
I sit on a line with it because I can make fire. But here's the thing. As good as I am at making fire, there's so many things that could happen.
Yeah.
And you could lose. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. I almost would rather see it earlier, not down to the Final Four or whatever. But
well, it's not even just that this fire making at the Final Four, but it's also morphed into, Janet, that even if you win the challenge, then they say, okay, you won the challenge, but you still have to make the fire. So
exactly.
That's not enough. Not enough. Let me see you make a fire also. Like, but I won the challenge. No. Do fire too.
Yeah, I think everybody should know how to make fire, but I don't know how I feel about the challenge itself.
Yeah. You have to jump through a lot of hoops.
You do.
For these juries. Yeah.
You do. It's just another ploy. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of the fire thing myself. Mm-hmm. I'd be more afraid that I would screw it up because of something stupid. Mm-hmm. But,
yeah. Janet, and then did you have a thought about, they talked a lot about the final two versus the final three, and Jeff is a big proponent of the final three. He said, he cited a bunch of seasons and said, okay, these final twos, there were so many blowouts in the final two, and ultimately they love final three. Final three is the way to go.
But I still think there's blowouts in final three.
Sure.
I don't think 2 or 3.
Almost every time there's somebody gets 0 votes.
Yeah, I don't think it matters 2 or 3. Again, that's sitting on the line for me like fire challenge. Mm-hmm. I don't want to tell you exactly how I feel because I'm not totally settled on it.
Yeah, I get it. I really feel like that final two, I think, has given us like more exciting results in terms of like, because sometimes you can get somebody, because there's always going to be like, okay, there's a palatable option. Like I think in the producers' minds, like, okay, well, the most popular player will get more seasons where the fan favorite wins if we have a final three. But I think you also get a lot of seasons where the winner is kind of like, they were tolerable. It's just like that the jury will vote for a person who, if it was an A-B choice, like they might vote for people that wouldn't be able to win the game in a final three.
Right. They're voting for
people might play a little bit more aggressive in terms of like, hey, okay, look, they're gonna vote for. I just will bring this one person that was like a total loser to the end, and I'll win even if the jury doesn't like me.
Yeah. I probably lean more towards a final two. I really do. And I agree with you. There's more aggressive interactions. There's more. Again, you're not diluting tribal council. With 3 people, you have 2, so it's more concentrated. Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately, that Jeff did not say definitely final three. It seemed like the thing that turned him around was one of the co-hosts said, yeah, but what if you didn't tell the players every time? He's like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting.
And I think that,
but that's not that great either. Like, you should tell them.
Yeah.
Like,
Everybody,
let them make a plan.
not having, like that's the thing about the season that I think is the most unsettling is you cannot trust anything. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you have gone for the birdcage key, Janet?
Oh yeah. I would have gone for the birdcage key. I would have, what did I think of, what I thought of? I would have put it back. And
Yes.
I would have put a fake thing in there. And then there was a part of me that just thought I was just going to take it and let everybody spin their wheels. Because in the beginning of the game, I think that's good to create turmoil. I did on
I
my
didn't know that
side.
about you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The
I
Molly
thought
vote
you
on my.
were the like calming presence in the storm.
No, you didn't see any of that stuff. In the beginning, where you don't see a lot of my edits, let's
Yeah.
put it this way. The Molly vote, our first vote,
Yeah.
the girls all came to me. I said, look at them down there, Jack and Jamal and Molly. I says, we got a little thing going on here. I said, this is going to be bad. And then, so anyway, the vote turned on Molly, but I got it to point at Dan as the one that made it happen. And Dan came to me later and said, you got them to look at me at that. I said, I know. That was, nobody knew that. That was between Dan and I. It was like, because I set it up so I didn't get blamed.
Yeah. Okay. Very sneaky,
A
Janet.
lot of little things that went on. Janet's got a lot of little things in her pocket.
Nick wants to know, would it have been damaging for the future of strategy had Danny gone out right after using his idol on somebody else? Would that have been bad for Survivor for the lesson to BC? Don't play your idol on somebody else.
No, because I think that there's been enough history of people playing their idol on somebody else.
And
no.
Nick, I think he's still going to lose.
Yeah,
I think it's, I still think that was a bad move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad move.
All right. How about Leopold Films wants to know, do the challenges still matter in the game, Janet? Everybody seemed eager to participate in the challenge, and then so many people just dropped instantly. Now, this was a hard challenge.
Do they matter?
Yeah.
Like, yes, they matter.
Yeah.
They matter a lot.
For a lot of these people, it's like, oh, I can't, like, I've got to compete. And then you're up there for 2 seconds.
Oh, well, you know what? Again, I almost cut my toe off on this particular challenge. And it wasn't the feet or anything. It was my neck. And, no, the challenges definitely matter. And if they go quick, it's only because they're that hard. You can sit at home and say, well, add no sleep, cold, and starving to that.
Yeah.
And try and do it.
Okay. Ryan wants to know, Janet, have you seen a decrease in the amount of swimming challenges? And if so, why do you think that is?
I have seen a decrease in swimming from the earlier survivors. I think, again, it could have to do with the way they set up all of the challenges years in advance.
True.
But I think they had, again, logistical problems with COVID, maybe not being able to get in there and set up water challenges.
Oh, that's interesting. In 42, they had a few different water challenges.
Yeah.
And the water was like especially choppy. I know we all remember when Jonathan had to like carry everybody on the ladder.
Oh, and I have to talk about that one. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. And then also, we had another challenge where they did the split tribe twist. And then, the water was so choppy that, that was another one that lasted only like a couple of seconds. Yeah. And so I don't know, maybe like the waters have gotten rougher.
Well, the water's choppy. Like that ladder challenge, we also had that challenge on our season. And the reason our tribe lost is because the bottom was deeper on our side. You can see where they were carrying the ladder. They're carrying the ladder and they're out of the water and we're over our heads. But again, I'm an ocean person. And when it comes to give me more ocean challenges, bring it, because that's going to be my forte. I think that I don't think it's planned that they didn't have water challenges now, because they did have a lot.
They did do one where I remember it was like you had to jump off of like the high balcony and then grab the key, and then Lauren missed, and then she had to go like ultimately go back. So they've been in the water a couple of times, but it does seem like they don't do it a ton. And
again, shorter season, maybe it's logistics with the building of the sets. I don't know. And the water is unpredictable.
Right. the weather was unpredictable in this episode last night. It was really the first time we've seen bad weather for these
For
players.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think for all the rest of us, we've had tons of challenges in the rain.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that didn't, I just sympathized with them,
Yeah. Because that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. All right. And then I have one other question. Okay. W. Lowry wants to know, does Queen Janet feel like her style of gameplay would work in the new era? I think it's criminal if we don't see her back on the next returnee season.
Woo! Thank you.
Okay.
I do think my style will work because my style is just loving people and taking them for who they are. And I'm not going to give away any other points of my style in case I go back.
In case you go back. Well, Janet, I do feel like that, I really do think that it's a little bit more of like, style and in terms of like personality, I think are huge in this modern era also because, I feel like people want to talk to people that they can relate to that like ooze authenticity like yourself. And especially considering the fact that you're such an asset in the challenges. Like, I feel like that you would be set up very well in a return visit. How about that, Janet? I don't want to put the jinx on you.
I hope so, Rob. Maybe you'll go back with me.
No, I got Janet. Let me just stay home and do the podcast.
Okay, you stay home. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And, we'll see what the future brings. If I don't go back, my biggest thing is at this point, I want to use whatever Survivor gave me to raise money for Give Kids the World.
Yes.
And I got a motorcycle out there. I'm sorry.
A motorcycle. Oh my God.
So yeah, so if I get to go back, I would love it because I love adventure and fun and
I get
all that. But
yeah. Janet, can you tell us about some of you're an influencer now. Maybe not everybody knows that.
Well, Tavor app is an app for beer, and and you can order all kinds of beer. I just got my shipment, all kinds of beer, and even if you order $25 worth and you use Janet 39, you get $10 off.
Yes.
Tavor, it's an app. So you download, you order all this really good beers and stuff. It's really cool. And I was an influencer, and it makes me very sad that I'm not anymore, for Jolynn bathing suits.
Okay.
It's a female company. Run by females. It's the best swimwear I've ever worn. All my lifeguards wear it.
Yes.
That's all I wear. And I wear like 2 suits a day. They dropped me when they changed hands or something. And I'm hoping they would take me back. They I love them, but yeah. And
do we need to get the hashtag going?
Yeah, I did. You know what? It was another thing. I don't know if I was doing their post that I think I was old.
Well, you can tell them like, hey, maybe I'll wear your swimsuit on Survivor one day.
Well, all my friends wear them. There's so many people that have bought it from. Like, yeah, if they let me wear a suit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are you concerned that if they did a returnee season that they are only going to look at people from the new era? Or do you think that there's something about the new era versus the old era? Can the old era cut it in the 26-day game?
Do you know what I think the theme should be?
What?
Old Survivor versus new Survivor.
They got to rebrand it. They can't call it Old Survivor.
No,
Classic.
People, whatever.
Yeah.
Old against new. I would actually be in the new Survivor.
Okay. So you want to do old school versus new school?
Old school versus new school.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah. Forget it. Go back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it would be fun if they could figure out a way. There's so many people like yourself who deserve a new shot, even if you didn't play in the new era.
I could do it.
You could do it. Okay. Well, Janet, thank you so much for being here with me. Besides the apps, anything else you want people to check out?
Yes. So in Florida,
yes.
I will be hosting watch parties in the 3rd week of September, whenever the new season comes out. And I will also do it in March. And it will be here in Florida. I'll be advertising
Premiere
on my
parties.
Yep. It's at Beachfly Brewery, and they're watch parties, and all the money goes to Give Kids the World. And all of my Survivor and reality friends, you all come stay at my house.
Oh my God.
We do. We all hang out here. It's so cool with the fires.
Get the live feeds going.
Oh, and we have live feeds. Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Tina Wesson she slept in my
Put this
granddaughter's.
on Paramount Plus.
So Tina slept in my granddaughter's bunk bed. She named it Tina's on top. That's her bed. Heather from the other season had the bottom bunk, and we had a couple of people from Big Brother. Nicole came. Oh, and Carl and Joe and Brenda and Mike Turner came down, and everybody we just blow, and Gio. We blow up air mattresses, and we do all kinds of fun stuff.
Oh my God.
All raising money. But folks, look for it on the media. 3rd week of September and the 1st week of March. Come and play with us.
You can get 2 tribes going, Janet.
We do. We will.
Yeah.
We get to, we have challenges. Yeah.
All right. Well, Janet, that sounds like a wild time. Thank you for making some time to talk with me about what's going on here in Survivor 44. Do you have a winner prediction, Janet?
I'm gonna it's between Carson and Carolyn, only because I really I don't know. I'm gonna go with that.
Well, I guess that's your last name. Anybody that's CAR, that's
right.
Yeah.
The C Club.
And who's going out next?
I unfortunately think it's going to be Danny. Well, if Danny wins immunity, it's going to be Danny or Franny.
One of the Annies.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Of course, I will be back with a feedback show as well on Monday when Hannah Shapiro from that motorcycle.
I know, right?
Wild. That's not your husband on there, is it?
No, it's the guy across the street.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Tell me to keep it down. We're doing a podcast. So Hannah Shapiro, Millennials versus Gen X, is going to join me on the feedback show on Monday. So be on the lookout for that, plus everything else in our Survivor podcast feed coming this weekend. Janet, this was so nice to get the chance to talk with you. Hope we can do it again sometime.
I love it.
And hopefully I'll see you in the real world soon.
I hope so.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care, Janet.
All right. Bye-bye.